All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. My name is Carol Bush. I'm the Marketing and Customer Communications Manager here at Experience Plus. Joining me today is co-owner of Experience Plus, Mariana Price, and then Expedition Tour Leader, Juan Pablo Mansilla. He has several different names. I'll let him introduce himself. I'm not sure which one he prefers to go by. But he's joining us from down in Winterland in Chile. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep microphones off today for attendees. And then if you ever have any questions, you can put those into the chat. We will be doing a Q&A session the last 15 or so minutes of the presentation. So we just wanted to give you a bunch of information first, and then we will go over all of your questions. So I just want to give you an overview of what we will cover today. Maria Elena is going to introduce you to Experience Plus, who we are, what we do, and specifically what is an expedition tour. Then she's going to kick it over to Juan Pablo, and he is going to tell you about what this trip is all about, what the route is, what the highlights are, just give you an overview of the tour, and then we'll transition into a Q&A session and go from there. So I'm going to pass this over to Emmy.
Thank you. I'm just going to do a brief introduction to Experience Plus for those of you who may not know much about us. I think some of you have traveled with us, though, so that if you have any more questions about us, feel free to put them in chat if I don't cover it. So as some of you probably know, we are a family-run business, one of the first bicycle tour operators out of the United States back in the 1970s with my parents, Rick and Paula Price, who started with the crazy idea to take people to bike across Italy. Annually now, we run about 170 guided tours across Europe. We just added a new tour style to our lineup, actually, which would be self-guided tours. Those are not with set departures. But we operate in 21 countries in Europe and Cuba and Chile and Argentina. We have 2 offices, one based in Fort Collins and one based in Italy. So that's the very, very brief download on who we are. A little bit about what you can expect on tour with us. Most all of our trips are designed so that you can ride at your own pace. We do that in a number of ways. We try to manage the navigation worries and in a few different ways between technology and our trusty chalk arrows on part of our trips. One of our goals in how we design our tours is to make sure that you're connecting with the people and the destination. So we always have, as much as we can, we're going through interesting destinations. We try and include cultural visits if it's appropriate with the place and the time and the logistics. And we really try and make sure that because you're on a bike, you get to know a place, you get to know the feel of it, you get to smell the air, and you get to really understand the local culture, whether it's because you can stop and have a coffee or a specialty in the local cafe and bakery, or because you've been able to ride through a beautiful and scenic, forest that you maybe would not have been able to see if you weren't on a bicycle. And of course, one of the benefits of traveling with a company is that we can manage all of the logistics for you. On our guided tours, you'll have very competent bilingual bicultural guides who are there to support you on your ride so that you don't have to worry about any of the things that normally complicate planning a trip like this one. And that's our goal, to make sure it's a seamless vacation for you. Just a brief overview of our trips. We have 5 different tour styles. Our classic tours are the bread and butter of the majority of our trips, but we've recently added and designated some of our trips in the bike and boat. Those are the trips that are with a bike and on a boat, whether it's a barge and along the canals in Central and Northern Europe, or whether you're on a boat on the Adriatic or in the Mediterranean. We have those in Croatia and in Greece. And then we have recently added a gravel explorer tours in the last 4 years. These are trips that are partially off pavement, so they differ from our classic and our bike and boat in that they're generally include more off-pavement and gravel riding. Sometimes it's hard-packed dirt, sometimes it's trails, and sometimes it's gravel roads. And then this year we added self-guided to our lineup in Italy. And self-guided tours don't have guides. They are more on demand, so you can actually schedule when the dates work for you. Right now we only have them in Italy because you really need a local operator, and so our own office manages all of those, that knows the local suppliers quite well, because we organize all the hotels, but you have no van support and your luggage is transported every day. So that's just a brief overview of self-guided. But today we're talking about our expedition tours. An expedition tour is a tour that the style was thought up about 20 years ago, 18. In 2006, Rick, my father, was dreaming about some of the long distance touring that one could do in Europe. And those long distance tours were he was a geographer, so he often was just staring at a map. And one of the first one he thought of was from St. Petersburg to Istanbul. He had a map of Europe, continental Europe, and Russia on his wall. And he thought, I wonder what it would be like to bike from St. Petersburg to Istanbul. So that was in 2006. Well, actually, that was in 2005. And then as he considered the logistics, he realized it would be really hard to scout this tour to make it the way we would normally do for one of our classic trips. So he thought maybe there was space for a group of adventurous people who would join on a trip that had been fully planned out, even with local tour leaders, but maybe not every single mile had been pedaled. And so that was the beginning of our expedition tours. Since 2006, we have run almost 15 different tours, if not more. A couple of them we redo. We did the first trip was 45 days, which was split into 3 different sections. And then in South America, we've done a large number as well. We've done 3 different ones that have crossed coast to coast. Juan Pablo has been a part of all of those. We've done the high Andes, we've done the lower Andes. We've also done about 5 or 6 other ones in Europe that we're crossing from Venice to Greece, from Copenhagen to Paris. We generally only run one in each season. So we have the winter season this year is the Carretera Austral, and then the summer season this year in 2025 will be from Lyon to Ljubljana. In 2024, we're doing one in Europe or in the UK from the Land's End to John O'Groats across the UK. So the goal of these expeditions is really long distance exploration. We try to cross continents and really connect to major landmarks by bike. It is for people who are okay if sometimes the lodging is not the 3 and 4 star you might find, or 4+ star you might find on our other trips, because we can't always promise that there is a hotel with air conditioning in every location when you're crossing continents. And that's one of the key things about our expedition tours. If you have more questions about our expedition tour, please feel free to, and the style, feel free to put them in the chat and we can talk about those as we go. So I want to introduce Juan Pablo. I've been working with Juan Pablo for almost 20 years. We first started working with him when we expanded into Chile. He lives in southern Chile and in Chiloé, the incredible archipelago of Chiloé, which is a hidden gem of Chile. And he operates a small tour operator there that takes people to some beautiful places in that area, and he's supported us in our trips in Chile for, like I said, almost 20 years. So Juan Pablo, I'll let you tell a little bit more about yourself and then go into the meat and the itinerary of the carretera.
Okay, hi everybody. As Maria Elena said, almost 20 years working with ExperiencePlus. I'm a tour leader and supplier for ExperiencePlus here in Chile. I organize for ExperiencePlus the tours here in Chile. And what can I tell you? I am an agronomist. I live here in the south of Chile on Chiloé Island. And I have this small tour operator that is working. So let's talk about this. Carretera Austral expedition. What is Carretera Austral? Well, here you have some things interesting about Carretera Austral. It's a highway in the south of Chile. Actually, Carretera Austral means like southern highway. And it was built on the 70s during Pinochet government. In the 70s, in the middle of the 70s, we were almost in war against Argentina because 3 little islets in Beagle Strait. So these little towns in the south of Chile were not connected by land to the rest of Chile. They depended by ocean connection or going through Argentina. So it was very strategic for the government at the moment to build this Carretera Austral. So it's almost 1,200 kilometers of landscape, of forest, glacier, mountains, fjords that we are gonna ride on this tour. Is in miles is 720 miles from Puerto Montt to Villa O'Higgins, where Carretera Austral ends, and we're more than 10,000 Chilean soldiers that work opening this road. In 93, where I first did this tour, this Carretera Austral on a car, there were still military forces working there, opening some parts of the road. So it's a very new road. Now it's almost paved, so it's much easier. So we're going to be in Route 7, that is Carretera Austral, most of the road until Mayín, Colorado, day 13. And from there, we take Route 265 for the last 2 days that goes around the General Carrera Lake. So the weather here in the south is rainy, and this tour I can promise you at least 1 day of rain, and it's going to be forest, fjords, volcanoes, very wide landscape, very few towns, and the most important thing for me is very few cars. Most of the cars go by ferry, so the road is very empty of cars and trucks. So as I told you, here you have all the road. The route that we're gonna make from Puerto Montt south until Chile Chico in General Carrera Lake, we will have most paved roads, as you can see in the pictures, but it's gonna be some gravel too. The last 3 days are gravel. And we have a section on day 2 that is gravel too, that 30 kilometers. So it's 12 days of, and these 6 days of the tour is 12 days of biking. There are 595 miles. It's an average of 49 miles per day. There are 10 days of pavement, about 400 miles of riding. And the last 3 days, as I told you, is gravel. So it's about 195 miles of gravel. We will have 3 ferries. Day 2 from Caleta La Arena to Caleta Puelche is a 30-minute ferry that crosses Reloncaví Fjord. Day 3 from Hornopiren to Caleta Gonzalo, it's about 4 hours ferry. And day 15 from Chile Chico back to Coyhaique is the ferry on the General Carrera Lake, that it's about 3 hours, if I'm not wrong, to Puerto Ibáñez, and then we continue back to Coyhaique. And we will cross or be on the site of 7 national parks during this expedition. The equipment that we use, there you can see the 2 bikes that are available here in Chile and Argentina. We use Merida gravel bikes. There is all the technical description. And we have these Fantic e-bikes. They are mountain bikes, very good for the area. So this is the same description that is in ExperiencePlus webpage. There, let's continue with this. About meals and lodging. Well, we have almost all lunches or picnic lunches included on the tour. 11 dinners. We try to use a local food. So we in the picnics we try to buy the day before with the guides what we're gonna offer you during the road, and if not, we use some small restaurant or agrotourist. Or some nice restaurants too. In some lodges, they have very good restaurants. In Puerto Varas, it's an excellent restaurant. We use, for lodging, small hotels in this area. It's not big infrastructure, so there are small hotels, 8-10 rooms, or some cabins sometimes. And in the picture, you can see there is one lunch in Chaitén. It's a very simple, we call it cocinería. It's like a home restaurant, because there is a very small town. It's not much to offer, but very nice food, very good, really good. Let's start with the day today. First day we meet in Puerto Varas. It's a small town, a small resort on the shore of the Yanquihue Lake. It's 30 minutes from Puerto Montt Airport, and this is the main airport in the area. And the town is about 37,000 inhabitants. As I told you, it's on the Yanquihue Lake with an incredible view to the Osorno volcano, that's the Chilean Fuji, and to the Calbuco volcano that is on the side. Osorno is still sleeping, it's an active volcano, but it's sleeping, and Calbuco volcano at the moment is sleeping. Last eruption was in April 2015. This day we make the bike fitting, the meeting, presentations, and welcome dinner all together. Day 2, we start with the shuttle this day until to avoid Puerto Montt and the traffic, and we start after the first ferry. For logistics, it's easier that we go all together in the ferry. And from there we take a coastal road. It's not going to be Route 7 at the beginning. So we start biking, and we go on the shore of this peninsula. There are small towns there. You know, all this area was settled by Chiloé people. So it's the same, a little bit similar architecture school. You see in this little town, small churches like the churches from Chiloé Island, they're on the UNESCO protection. Very scenic, the road, very flat at the beginning, until we arrive back to Route 7, and that start these 2 hills, and we ended in Hornopiren. Hornopiren is a small city, must be about 3,000 inhabitants. It's on the feet of the Hornopiren volcano, so another beautiful volcano to see. Then day 3, we start again with a ferry from Hornopiren to Caleta Puelche. This is a long ferry, it's about 4 hours. It's 3 hours the first ferry. Then we have to cross the Leptepu Peninsula in car. We have half hour, and the next ferry is waiting us there. Then we have 40 minutes to Caleta Gonzalo, and there we start biking. It's about 35 miles, half is gravel and half is paved. We start with gravel at Pumalín Park, Douglas Tompkins Park. You know, Douglas Tompkins was an American businessman and an environmentalist dedicated to conservation and restoration, and environmental activist. He was the owner of North Face, and he bought big pieces of land here in the south to create these private parks. Sadly, he died in December 2015, and after that, his wife donated all this private park to the Chilean government, and now it's part of the big network of national parks that we have here in the south of Chile. So getting out of the gravel, that means getting out of Douglas Tompkins Park, starts the paved. And there is very interesting because we will have the Chaitén volcano on the left, a very small volcano still active that made like last eruption in December 2015. So when we arrive to this town, Chaitén, very small town, we will see at the end of the town is a site museum. They let a block of the city like he was after the eruption, totally covered with the ashes. So it's very interesting to see the destruction that can make this little volcano, which only with the ashes. So we have a picnic lunch this day and dinner together in Chaitén town. We stay in a small hotel called Mi Casa, my house. Next day, day 4, Chaitén to Yelcho Lake. This is a very beautiful day of biking. It's an amazing valley, a glacier valley, like a perfect view for a book. It's amazing, really perfect. It's relatively flat. It's a false flat. You're going up, but you don't feel it. And you start to see the hanging glaciers on the mountains. We arrived to Yelcho Lake. Yelcho Lake is very known here in Chile for fly fishing. You know, salmon was introduced here ending the 70s, so for farming, but many escaped. So they're living wild now, and this is a good place for fishing. Is a lot of fly fishing lodge here on the Yelcho Lake. We have lunch and dinner together at the hotel. Then we have Yelcho Lake to La Junta. We continue going south inside the land. We start with a little hill, and then it's relatively flat until La Junta. In La Junta is a very small town. It's just 1,300 inhabitants. We have there a very nice hotel. It's called Espacio y Tiempo. And from the hotel is a nice walk. It's about 3-4 blocks from the hotel. And it's a nice hike up the hill to have a view over this little town. We have a picnic lunch this day, and dinner is on your own. In town, we have, being so small, there's a few good restaurants, and the hotel restaurant is very good. So then we continue La Junta to Rizo Patron Lake. As you see in the map, we continue going south. It's an easy ride, it's all paved. And getting out of La Junta, a few miles from there, we have the first stop. We stop at the distillery. It's called Tepaluma. And it's a couple, a British guy with a Chilean girl, that decided to move there to make this distillery, this gin distillery, because the pristine water that they can obtain there, that gives some special characteristic to the gin, is really amazing. Really, really good. We have, sadly, it was early in the morning, but we have a nice tour there, a tasting, and then we continue to the hotel. It's a short ride this day, only 17 miles. And we stay in this Pangue Lodge at Rizo Patron Lake. It's a beautiful hotel. It's settled directly at the lake, so you can enjoy kayaking if you want in the evening. We have lunch at the hotel and dinner at the hotel, or you can do a little walk from the hotel. It's a nice walk, about 1 hour, that goes inside this rainforest. Here it's very easy to do a walk. It's a very dense rainforest, but nothing is dangerous. There's no danger animals, danger insects, no danger plants, nothing. So you can really enjoy and be relaxed walking in the forest. Different from the North Hemisphere that a bear can appear. At the hotel, as I told you, it's kayak option. There is a nice pool, there is hot tubs, or you can jump into the lake if you want. Let's continue. Day 7. This is a long day, very long day. We start with a shuttle, the first 40 miles, because it's some section of gravel, and we have a big climb in starting Queulat National Park. So we start, you see on the profile, we start just on the top of the hill, and from there is all paved. Probably it's going to be more paved this season, because they're paving and paving every year, more and more. So from the result page, we are inside Queulat National Park. And if we are lucky and we have good weather and not cloudy, it's an amazing view to the hanging glacier of Queulat National Park from the road. And from there, we continue another 107 miles biking until Puerto Chacabuco. Puerto Chacabuco is a small town. It's only 1,600 inhabitants. We have a great hotel there that is called Loberías del Sur. We stayed 2 nights there. And it's interesting because on the way to Puerto Chacabuco, we will cross Puerto Aysén. And Puerto Aysén was the port in the past. It's on the river. But with the sediments, the ships cannot enter to Puerto Aysén. So they had to create this new town that is called Puerto Chacabuco on the ocean, at the bay. When I went there the first time in '93, was just the port, nothing else. Now it's a little town, 1,600 inhabitants, nice hotel, etc. No, it's really amazing how can grow this place. Let's continue. We stayed 2 nights at this hotel, Loberías del Sur. So next day is a free day. Rest day, but it's a nice option. The hotel offered tours to Laguna San Rafael National Park. It's a catamaran trip. It's all day long. It's a long day, but they take you it's about 3 hours one way to this lagoon in the ocean, where is this glacier that goes into the ocean. And then you can go in small boats closer to the glacier, drink a nice whiskey with this millenary ice, etc. And then you're back to the hotel at night, 8 p.m. So it's about $250 per person. It's not included, but it's an incredible option. So next day, we continue biking. Day 9, Puerto Chacabuco to Coyhaique. Now we go to the coast inside, getting inside a little bit into the Andes. So you can see in the profile, it's relatively flat all the time until we get to the hill. And then starts a big change of landscape from this forest that we had the last days of biking, and starts to be more open spaces and more fields. It starts to appear cattle. So Coyhaique is the biggest city in the area. It's about 55,000 inhabitants in the city. We have a nice small hotel. So this day is picnic lunch, and we have dinner together in Coyhaique. Day 10, Coyhaique to Villa Cerro Castillo. So continue the paved is 61.4 miles. Is the last paved road from the tour, the last paved day. So in this day, again, changed dramatically the landscape. Getting out of Coyhaique is a lot of cattle. Fields of cattle is a big cattle production, mainly beef. So it's no more forests, it's fields, fields, fields. And then we enter to a beautiful valley with forests, mainly Notophagus family, Lengas and Rauli, o sea, Lenga and Nire. And in this valley is a real possibility to see the huemul. Huemul is the most southern deer of the world. It's really an extinction. It's very difficult to see one. It's part of the two animals that appear on the Chilean shield. One is the condor and the other is the huemul. And there is really possibilities to see a huemul on the road. It's really impressive, this. And then we have this big downhill before arriving to Villa Cerro Castillo. It's called the Cuesta del Diablo, the Devil Downhill, but we do it down. And then we arrive to Cerro Castillo. That is means the castle mountain. You can see it on the picture. It's really like a beautiful castle, the mountain there. It's a small town. This one must be less than 500 inhabitants. So it's a village, and there we have to split the group. It's no hotel big enough for everybody, so normally we split in two places. It's a small lodge with 4 rooms and some cabins. We have a picnic lunch. Normally it's just before the downhill, and dinner is together. Day 11, Villa Cerro Castillo to Villa Rio Tranquilo. So after 10 miles of pave, we say goodbye to the paved and starts the gravel. In total is 75 miles this day, so we have 65 of gravel and 10 of paved. Big change of the landscape is much drier. And we arrived to Lago General Carrera. Puerto Rio Tranquilo is a small town, the same, about 600 inhabitants. We stayed 2 nights there in a nice hotel, Hotel El Puesto. So this day is a picnic lunch and dinner together in town. Next day is another rest day. And we have another interesting optional excursion that is kayak to the marble caves, Capillas de Mármol, we call it. It's a rock formation that is a few kilometers from town. They take you in a shuttle for 15 minutes, and then it's the kayak instruction, and you go in the kayak. It's 10 minutes on the lake until you arrive to this marble cave that is amazing to kayak in there. The color of the water, the color of the rocks is really a nice experience. Or you can stay the day or spend the evening in town. As you say, it's a small town, but it's interesting things to see, like this whale skeleton that is in a school, or these monuments, wooden monuments on town and in the plaza. It's a really nice town, good restaurants too. It's even a local brewery. So next day we continue biking, day 13. We continue from Villa Rio Tranquilo to Mallín, Colorado. Mallín, Colorado is not a town, it's just a lodge in the middle of the road. Gravel road, 29.6 miles of gravel road on the side of General Carrera Lake. This is the biggest lake from Chile, and we share it with Argentina. In Argentina, it's called Lago Argentino, if I'm not wrong. We arrived to Mallín, Colorado lodge. It's a very nice lodge. We have lunch and dinner at the lodge. And at the lodge, it's a nice walk up the hill. You know, the lodge is situated, and behind the lodge is a hill. So we can walk We do this walk in the evening. It's about 3-4 hours walking in total. And we arrive to the top of the hill, and you can see to the other side. And to the other side is Beltran Lake. And behind Beltran Lakes is big mountains. And on the top of the mountains, you can see the northern ice fields. You see it's all covered with glaciers. Really amazing. And on the walk is really possibilities to see the Magellan woodpecker. So these ones who like to bird watching, I like to bird watching, it's a real opportunity there to see the Magellan woodpecker, the biggest woodpecker of the world. Day 14, Marine Colorado to Acres Lodge. You can see on the map and the profile is a hilly day. It's not very long. We change route here. After Marine Colorado, we get out of Route 7, Carretera Austral, and we enter to Route B265 that goes around General Carrera Lake. It's a beautiful ride. The views on General Carrera Lake are amazing. The color of the lake is incredible. And we arrived to this lodge and cabins in the middle of nowhere. It's run by a US citizen. They moved there many years ago, and they start to build this. It's a golf court and this lodge. And there, the lodge, you see on the two pictures on the bottom, the view that they have there from on the lake, and it was one of the most beautiful sunsets that I have seen. Lunch and dinner is at the lodge. Day 15, sadly last day of biking, is a very demanding day, 48 miles. This day we cross El Paso de las Llaves. That means the key pass. Is a very narrow part on the lake, the road that goes straight on the lake almost. So it's a demanding day. You see the profile that is up and down, up and down, up and down, all gravel. And the landscape looks more like Argentina than Chile. It's very similar to the Argentinian steppe that is on the other side of the Andes, much drier. We arrived to Chile Chico. It's a small town, 5,000 inhabitants. And this town, because we are almost in the other side of the Andes, has a microclimate. So it's a big cherry production there. And they are starting with trying to do a wine production there. So it's interesting, the place, very interesting. Very different from what we saw the previously day. So this day is a picnic lunch on the road, and we have dinner together in town. We stay in a nice hotel directly on the coastline. It's like an apart hotel, like little apartments, and the restaurant is just behind. So day 15, we start to return to Coyhaique. This day we have it's just shuttle. We have a ferry in the morning that crosses Lago General Carrera Lake. It's like 3 hours. Beautiful, really beautiful. I insist, the colors of the water of the lake, the sky, the landscape is really amazing. And we return to Coyhaique. This last day we have a goodbye dinner together. And last day, day 17, is a shuttle from Coyhaique to Balmaceda Airport. It's about 60 kilometers, about 1 hour. So you can see in the picture, everybody happy after the first expedition a few years ago. We'll continue from here.
Thank you. Sorry, I was muted. Thank you for the rundown. That was great. It makes us all probably want to jump on our bike and go. Just one thing I wanted to mention. Yeah, one thing I did want to mention, because we have talked to those who rode and our bike supplier. For those of you who've done a trip in South America, you know that we work with our Argentinian partner for the bikes, and we have gravel bikes that we used last time we did this trip, but we have decided to change to more mountain bike style with front shocks, because the gravel is a little bit less hard packed than we would like from the feedback that we received. So we are going to do mostly with mountain bikes, but it is we're going to likely do slick tires on the first pavement section and knobbier tires on the second part is the plan. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that part. So that is slightly different than the photos. I saw that I think a few of you have maybe done some of the other trips and maybe even traveled with Juan Pablo. So if you have any other questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the chat. But Carol, do you want to add anything?
And since there's a few of us, I actually think it would be okay to if folks wanted to ask their question directly as opposed to putting it in the chat, we can go ahead and have a conversation. So let me unmute folks. And then if you wanted to ask a question, say hello to Juan Pablo, just jump on in. Okay, so everybody should have access to their mics now if they want.
Ask me questions. I like questions.
Juan Pablo, Scott here. I took my first ExperiencePlus tour with you.
I remember, Scott. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. It's so nice to see your face and hear your voice. We had a wonderful time. And I'm trying to find a way to tour with you again.
Way.
Well, Juan Pablo, I would love to hear you talk a little bit about the weather. What can people expect for weather and the types of clothes that they should bring? Like tell us more about what's happening down in that part of the world in January.
Weather here, you have 4 seasons in one day. Be prepared for everything. Rain is part of the landscape. That's why everything is green. It's going to rain at least one day. That I can promise you that. But in general, our last tour, we had rain the first day, and then it was sunny. Actually, in General Carrera Lake, that we expected wind from the side or from the back, was no wind. It was really, really good. Actually, some jump in the water. The day of the kayaking, they jump in the lake. The people, it was really nice weather. It's summer. It's summer, so must be good weather, but rain is part of the landscape.
It is summer, but I noticed not only were people wearing rain jackets in the pictures, they were quite warmly dressed. So what would be a typical temperature there, Juan Pablo, at that time of year?
In Fahrenheit, it's difficult for me at the moment to make it so fast, but in Celsius, it was a minimum, maybe 10 Celsius, and we have a maximum, the sunny days of 22 Celsius.
Okay, I know I'm in Canada, so Celsius makes sense.
Perfecto. So the coldest day was the third day when we crossed from Yelcho Lake to La Junta, that we crossed the Moraleda Pass, and that was cold. I was freezing waiting the bikers. The bikers arrived warm, they were making exercise, but I was on the van making support, and I was freezing.
And a quick follow-up question. I think it was Maria Elena who mentioned that the gravel sections were a little more loose gravel than expected, because we have hard pack gravel, former rail trails, and you can ride those almost on a road bike.
Right.
Then we have stuff that's nubbly and you're all over the road. And my impression from your comment is that it's closer to the loose pack than the hard pack.
I think it's probably more in between, but Juan Pablo, you can probably give a better answer.
I agree with that. It's in between. It's not very loose. It was in some sections, it was really good, actually. Getting out of Puerto Rio Tranquilo was a disaster the first 10 kilometers, because that's the section that the tours made for the kayaking. And that was a disaster. But then it was really good, actually. And the last day, that is demanding, the Paso de las Llaves, the ski pass, that was more loose or more stones. It was hard pack, not loose.
Okay.
More questions?
What's the food like?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that question. Talk about food.
The fuel.
Food, we have different kinds of food. We started in Puerto Varas, being closer to the ocean and access to seafood. So we have there a nice restaurant where we go. And then continuing south, We had a lamb grill. We have a cazuela that is a beef stew. The empanadas on the road, typical food from Chile, and what we can found in this little town for the picnic lunch is not easy. We carry a lot from the beginning, but we try to find in the places what they have fresh, like vegetables or fruit. That sometimes is not so easy, but we provide everything. We know how to do it.
When you see a daily itinerary with, say, 150K kilometers and 1,500, 1,600 meters of climbing, you tend to think, boy, that's a lot of uphill. But from the profile, is it more accurate to think it's up and down, up and down, up and down, that cumulatively adds to 1,500 meters of climbing?
See, it's not really not big climbs on the tour. It's up and down most of the time. The biggest climb I think is the Moraga Pass, that when I was freezing, that is day 3. And then it's not demanding on climbing. It's up and down. Flat is doesn't exist almost, but it's not very steep climbing. It's different from Chiloé Island, where I live, for example, that is short climbs, so that very steep. No, here is more gentle, the climbing. See, more gentle. And the best, I insist, the best of this, in my opinion, is we're almost alone in the road. It's no cars, because we have the bottlenecks of the ferries. So the cars that we find on the road mainly is the cars that fit on the ferry. So it's almost no trucks. I don't remember to saw trucks. Only one day from Puerto Chacabuco to Coyhaique is more cars, but we did that on a Sunday, so to avoid the traffic. So in general, it's very few cars on the road.
Now, Maria Elena, I did the St. Petersburg to Istanbul in, I think, 2012, and I'm trying to remember, that was very long. I'm trying to remember laundry. And, you know, Europe in those days, even Eastern Europe, was reasonably civilized, so you could get laundry done. Looking at the pictures of Juan Pablo, I don't get the feeling that you know, laundry is an option. You'll rinse it out and wear it again the next day.
See, it's not many options. The options is on the rest days. In Puerto Chacabuco, we stay 2 nights. So there is the hotel could make the laundry. And then in Puerto Rio Tranquilo, we stay 2 nights too. There is the possibility of laundry. But the other days in the towns, there is 500 people, inhabitants, is not easy.
Yeah, I think, Bob, you did the last version of the St. Petersburg, because after that, when we repeated it, I think a few times after that, we never went back to Russia. We just started in Tallinn, in Estonia. And we're thinking about doing the same thing in 2026, not starting in Russia, but for the 20th anniversary.
Well, for those of you who aren't familiar with Experience Plus, this particular image that you're looking at now, where it says download the itinerary, this is a photo from the tour page on our website. And that QR code actually will take you to this web page. But on the page itself, you can download the itinerary, you can see the daily distances and the difficulty of the days. You can read everything you would need to know about arriving and departing. So it just gives you a really great orientation to the tour on what to expect. And you also have the option from that page to hold a space on the tour. You can submit your name and your email address, and that comes into our sales team. And then you can hold a space with zero obligation for at this point, kind of as long as you need to make a decision. We like to say for a couple of weeks, but we're just really eager to get folks excited about this tour, and we know that it's kind of a big commitment to figure out how to make an adventure like this happen. So you have some time to think through that all, but that's just a really wonderful resource for you to spend some time with. And we really encourage you to download the itinerary.
Do you have a best guess at what the dates might be?
Well, gosh, we
do have dates.
An actual knowing of the dates, and it would be helpful if let me put those into the chat for you. There's some things that
it's from the January 4th to January 20th, if I'm not wrong.
January 4th to January 2025. Yes, it is. Thank you. Throw that down here.
And what number of participants do you need to make it economically viable for you?
Last time we ran it with 8, and that was about our minimum. It depends a little bit on timing, but yeah, generally 6 or 8 is our minimum. And then, our goal is between 10 and 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
it's a little bit of a different style of our other expeditions and a different destination. So we're really trying to, we'll post this recording online. And we found that we had quite a few views of the recording once we posted it. And so I'm hoping that we can, it's a really great way to get to know the trip and really answer some of those questions. So yeah, hopefully we'll spread the word.
Juan Pablo, what day of the tour is the background of Maria Elena's, the photo that's behind her? What day on tour is that? Do you recall?
Behind Maria Elena is el Paso de las Llaves. Is
so
that's
the last
biking. You see the road goes very straight in between the cliff and the lake on the right side of Maria Elena. And behind you, Carol, this is the pier of Risopatron Lake. That's in el Hotel El Pangeloch, sí.
Yeah.
And on the bottom is Lago General Carrera Lake. That's from the second day on the shore of the lake. You can see the color, this turquoise color, because it's a glacier lake. And you see nobody. Empty space, pure nature.
The skies are big down there. The skies are very big.
Do we have any other questions anyone wants to ask specific to the tour, or just in general about Chile that you'd like to ask Juan Pablo? All right. Well, as you are considering that. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Robert, please.
What currencies are readily acceptable, Juan Pablo, and credit cards? As a practical matter, if you're in smaller towns, do you need Chilean pesos for sure, or is the US dollar ubiquitous?
I suggest more than US dollars, a credit card. In general, in Chile, credit card works almost everywhere. Or Chilean pesos. You in Puerto Varas, you can take a little amount of having cash. But in general, it's not too many things to buy on the road. In between towns, it's just nature. It's not like Europe that you have coffee shops or cafes or small restaurants. Here is forest in between these little villages. So, and in towns, in general, credit cards works almost everywhere.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess we'll just start wrapping things up here. I wanted to just let you all know that we are doing a series of webinars throughout 2024. The next one is on June 26th. We're going to be featuring our Gravel Explorer bicycle tours that Maria Elena had mentioned at the beginning of our introduction. This photo that you see here is from the Azores, Portugal's Azores island in the middle of the North Atlantic. We just had our first Explorer tour there, and it was the photos were just stunning. John Giebler and Luis Pegado will be joining Emmy in this conversation to talk about the different tours that we have of this particular style. And you can register. We'll have this on our Facebook page, but we'll also be putting it out into our email newsletter, which if you aren't subscribed to that, it's easy to do that. You can go onto our homepage and subscribe to receive our weekly email news. You can also scan this QR code. You can email me, carol@experienceplus.com or marketing@experienceplus.com, and I can get you connected to these weekly blasts that feature menus or recipes of things that we've had on tour or things that we think that you might enjoy making for yourself that are resonant of what you might have experienced on tour. And what else do we have here? I guess that was all I had to mention.
Sí. Well, I hope to see you here down here for the next expedition. And all the pictures were taken by phone with no professional camera. So
Yeah.
you can imagine how the landscape is.
Yeah, exactly.
Just beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And please reach out if you have any questions. And we'll see you on the road. Thank you.